We have a guest today, Živo Lopatič, from Cooperative Buna and Fair Trade Store Trimuka.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. So I can, how to say, can you introduce yourself more often so they know what are these two things? Actually,
Okay.
A cooperative, a shop.
Okay, then I guess I will start at the beginning. I'll go a little bit into history. You know fair trade, the movement, the global movement and so on. So in Slovenia, the fair trade movement started 13 years ago when Umanotera at that point started the first fair trade shop in Slovenia. This is still the only shop in Slovenia. I took over 5.5 years ago. At that point, fair trade was very low in Slovenia. So we were, for the past 5 years, we were struggling to survive. But now I guess we are at the turning point that we are able to start growing again. In these 5 years, I was stabilizing the shop, and in the meantime, I was doing the communication so that people would appreciate fair trade more, know more about it, and start actually buying fair trade, which is very important. And in the first year of me managing the store, we also started with the lectures about fair trade and about coffee. These were our first lectures because we wanted to combine the material, where it comes from, how it grows, who grows it, who are the producers, how they live and this stuff, so that we could more easily explain why fair trade is important and how it works on an example. That made us three, actually René, who was and still is in the academic sphere, the one in Slovenia that knows the most about fair trade, and Tine on the other side, who was studying coffee for also around 10 years. So them together and me started these lectures, and after the first year of lectures, because they became quite popular, because people were inviting us to come and to discuss these things with them as well, we said, why only talk about it? Let's do something more. Let's make a cooperative and make an example out of this, so that people
So
can see that's how the
Zadruga
cooperative
Buna.
actually
Okay.
was established.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So that's
Yeah.
Tine is Tine chocolate,
Tine
from
chocolate,
Cafe Chocolate.
Yeah.
That's beneath
The
castle.
castle,
Correct.
exactly.
You can go there for a coffee. So how come coffee? Why coffee was chosen actually?
Actually, because Tine once came to me and started talking to me about coffee, and then I realized that I have no idea about coffee. And then I said, okay, I want to know more about coffee, and I also want to know more about fair trade, because when I took over fair trade, it wasn't big, I wasn't chosen to start managing the store because I knew a lot about fair trade, but because I knew a lot about business.
Okay.
And I had to learn all about fair trade.
Okay.
So for me, this was the perfect combination, even for me to start learning, because I had then René and I had Tine, two people who knew a lot. But also them started learning during the. I mean, it was for all of us a process.
Yeah.
Because when we started with the lectures, we didn't have the roastery, we didn't import our own coffee, so
it started
we were
from scratch actually.
totally from scratch.
Okay.
We had some idea and we knew in theory how things are done, but now we are involved, so we know also in practice.
So you saw the goal, you made up the path.
Actually not.
Okay.
We never when. This is actually our story about the cooperative is a little bit different than how cooperatives are usually established. Because with the cooperatives, the point is at the beginning that you sit down and talk along. With us, it was totally a different way. We were lecturing, and we were just, okay, let's do something. And then I did something, Tine did something, René did something, and at the end we had a cooperative.
Yeah.
And at that point we knew that we wanted a cooperative, but we didn't actually really know what a cooperative is. So we are also, being a cooperative member, we are learning step by step. Right now we are also teaching others. We know a lot about the cooperatives. We know a lot about legal stuff, economic stuff, all these things, because we had to get information.
Because you went from scratch,
Exactly. But because we are three, it's much easier because we can divide the work.
Exactly.
Even though Rene right now is a quiet cooperative member, which means that he's not present at all.
Okay, yeah. But others probably come, others go, or are still is the core still the same?
Yeah, the core is still the same. We are not expanding yet.
Okay.
We have a lot of partners. We are including people. We work with them, but we haven't. The membership is not widened yet. It's still 3 members, and that's it.
Okay. With Buna, you started with srečanje s pravično kavo, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Did you, leave that out? Or is this still the core where you enlighten, so to say, people? Or is that still an entry point where you get new people, you enlighten them?
No. Actually, these meetings about coffee or cup of awareness or whatever we want to call it, people still invite us to do the lectures about coffee. But in the meantime, we also started lecturing about cocoa, about cotton, now about tropical fruits. So actually, we are expanding. We are actually taking the same model, but we are doing it in a different way. And even for us, it's like this, that at the beginning we were also always 3 of us. So Tine, Rene and me at the lecture.
Okay.
Now it's either Tine, either Rene or me.
So you're already
never
sufficient enough, so
exactly.
one of you can do it. Yeah.
We are never all 3 of us together. And also, it's not the core of Buna anymore, because actually we have all these other things to do, and you take time to do lectures, but not as much. Yeah. I have kind of the limit of 2 lectures a month. This is enough, because it takes quite a lot of time. Yeah. And
every audience is different.
Exactly. But what I rather do now is that when I have lectures, that I do it about other things as well. Okay. Not just about fair trade or just about combining fair trade with the materials. We now lecture a lot at the faculties, but we see that the need for the young people is usually to know how they can benefit from that, or how they can find an opportunity for themselves, for a job or for a business idea or something like this. So I talk a lot about cooperatives, I talk a lot about this different kind of business actually.
Yeah, work
alternatives.
Possibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because now it is the time that people start getting this information from scratch. Otherwise, they're just running around in circles for 5 years before they.
Yeah, but that's also a good thing, because you have to do quite a lot of research to start doing something. In the past, and now I'm also doing one of the educational models, informal one, of course. And at this point, we said that we would do some videos about good practices in Slovenia. And what we found out is that all these good practices have 3 things in common. They all started with enthusiasm, and they were building the enthusiasm out of a voluntary work actually. It was never like I sit down and I think, ooh, do I have a good business idea or a good social business idea or whatever. No, it always comes from doing something enthusiastically and then find an opportunity where you can actually go or where to expand. So it's actually the same as Buna. It's not like a planning session and then going somewhere. Then the second thing is that it always comes from something that you know how to do really well. From some skill or something. And the third thing that they all have in common is that you need a lot of cooperation. So a lot of people around, a lot of talking to other people and so on. And then slowly it becomes a business, and then it becomes a social business or something like that. And this is, I think, the only way also to keep it sustainable.
I could not agree more, actually. Because if it does not come from within, you don't have the drive.
Exactly.
If you don't have the drive, you can have the best business plan in the world, because you're not going to work on that in the next 2 years, probably, because you're going to be bored.
True. And maybe also another thing is that to all these business practices, there were very strong opposition to them. Yeah. I mean, people from around who know about business, who were telling them this can't work, or this won't work. Yeah. But it works, because they were totally enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, that's the point, yeah. About Buna, like you already said, you started also with a purpose, so the consumers, or actually the users, would start questioning themselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Where does the coffee, let's say, come from? How was it made? How the prices
Cut, yeah.
cut it down? Yeah. Okay. How, from the start till now, how is the percentage of the enlightened users? Is it growing?
Yeah, definitely it's growing. Definitely it's growing. When we started the Buna cooperative, it was like, okay, let's start a business, let's do a crowdfunding campaign so that we can buy a roaster, so that we can start roasting our own coffee.
Oh, you went to Indiegogo, correct?
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. The campaign wasn't very successful in the terms that we didn't get a lot of money, but we got an investor. So
Okay.
we got someone who loaned us the money to buy the roaster. So actually we achieved our goal.
Spillover effect was that?
Exactly. So it was okay, and it was also a good thing that we did it, because that campaign made us think about stuff, and we actually set the 4 main principles that are still the basic of Buna. Whatever we are doing, whatever we are planning or developing or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not just about coffee, it's about everything that we do. It's all based on these 4 principles. So, and it was very good because we filmed it, we have the movie, and we can show it to everyone. It's also in English. I mean, the subtitles are in English, so we have something that we wouldn't have if we didn't do the Indiegogo campaign. But for us at the beginning, when we started, it was okay. We all of us 3, we have our own businesses or our own jobs. We don't need the cooperative to be safe or to be employed.
Yeah.
Exactly. But in the 3.5 years since the cooperative was established, now Tina is employed in the cooperative, I am employed in the cooperative, his coffee shop works within the cooperative, he closed his SP, I closed this, I still have it, but for some other things, but it's just the minimum. I will close it eventually. It's not something that I want to develop furthermore. For me, it's much more important that we are within. We have 2 more people employed in the cooperative, and we have 4 people on scholarships.
Okay.
So
I have to congratulate you for that.
Thank you. So
because that is a big achievement.
Yeah. So in that sense, we think that a lot more people know about it, a lot more people want the coffee and so on, and we managed to come to the stage that when we come and say Buna coffee, people at least heard it somewhere.
That's a lot in a couple of years, actually.
Exactly,
exactly.
And all without any funds.
Yeah.
We didn't have big promotions and so on.
Nobody with this mind shift idea has it, because that was also one of my questions, is like the 10,000 hours of Malcolm Gladwell, his theory.
Mm-hmm.
You need 10,000 hours to become a master of something, you know.
Yeah, but we still have a lot to learn. So
but still, how do you think? Yeah, you said you need a lot to learn, but especially if it's a mind shift idea or business or cooperative.
Yeah.
How do you? I would say, because we have the same thing with home. How do you not give up, or how do you still go on? What's the
drive?
What's the drive?
The motivation. The motivation is that we like the way we live.
Okay.
Actually, we are almost every day, when we start, okay, but this is going wrong, or this is going wrong, or we have a problem there, or they want to hurt us, or whatever, and then we sit down and we say, but still at the end of the day, we can sit down and we say, we do what we love to do. And we are not hurting anyone, and this is the point.
Yeah.
And that's why you keep on going. Because otherwise, yes, of course, because we are self-dependent means that you have to earn your own salary.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it would be much easier to go somewhere from 8 to 4 and get the salary on your account. But you would have to do things that you don't want to do. And since the awareness is rising, even within us, because of the lectures and everything, it would be very hard for us to go back.
So actually, with the lectures, you're building your market, so to say. I mean, building your market.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. But we are also, with the lectures, we are more selfish. We say that the lectures keep us straight.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Because when you are lecturing about something, when you are talking about how things should be or how things are done, you are keeping yourself within the limits, or that you don't, because you know the profits and everything. This is so sparkling. You want it. I mean, it would be nice to have more money at the end of the month, but because we are lecturing, it's in our mind that we never go there.
Yeah, you're
Because-
keeping yourself sober.
Exactly, exactly. Because with coffee it's very easy. Coffee is very marketable good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a problem to sell coffee
It's
People
the second
make-
most traded, correct? After oil.
in the stock markets. Yes.
Okay.
Coffee is amazing. I mean, you can make so much money with coffee.
Yeah.
Not the way we are doing it. Otherwise, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah, because also the companies are going towards fair trade, or at least they're talking about.
They
doing
are-
it, 'cause
they
I know
are-
from Uli, from
Yeah,
everybody.
OMV, Starbucks, everybody is going there.
Everybody is
Yeah.
in that. Yeah, of course, because it's a trend. But you were before there. I mean, it's a trend. It's a buzzword.
People are demanding it. That means that the awareness is so high that people are demanding this stuff. It's not just with coffee, it's with everything. The thing is, we started in Europe 3 years ago, started the campaign Make Fruit Fair. At that point in Slovenia, I think in some Hofers you had fair trade bananas. Today, you get fair trade bananas in all supermarkets. In just 3 years, everything changed, which means that the supermarkets found that in Slovenia people are buying fair trade. Otherwise, they wouldn't be giving you fair trade
Yeah,
in
of
the
course.
supermarkets.
They would not be interested.
Exactly.
There will be nobody to buy it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is the effect of the international campaign, not just what we were doing in Slovenia. But even so, obviously in Slovenia, fair trade is, we in the 13 years that we've been doing it, we made it so strong that there is a market for fair trade bananas. So,
Yeah, that's big. Yeah.
yeah.
Going to the fair trade store.
Mhm.
What I'm interested in, where does the name come from? Let's say.
Muhe.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's three flies in English. Yeah.
It's from the Slovene proverb.
Oh, okay.
You kill, with one action you kill 3 flies. I don't like it personally, I have to say that.
You came on later.
I came on later, exactly, but I don't like it because of the association of killing.
Okay, yeah.
This is not what I... but it is a very strong brand, that's why I'm not thinking of changing it, and that's why I'm keeping it alive.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And from the business perspective, that's more.
Yeah. Because everybody knows tri muhe and everybody is associating fair trade in Slovenia with tri muhe, and it would be totally stupid to change it now.
Change it to something.
Even though this year, in the beginning of the year, we formed a new company, an institute, and we put all the business, all the store to this institute. And we are
Okay.
closing the previous company, so it would be the ideal time to change the branding as well. But that would change things completely, and we would we would have to start communicating from the beginning, and that
that's
would
gonna
be.
take time. Yeah.
No, we don't have the sources, the resources, financial or human, to start doing it. And you know, branding is really heavy.
Yeah. We have brand managers in house, not today.
Yeah, I know. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. You already talked about how it was funded. Poslanstvo. What's the word?
The mission.
What's the mission from the start? Is it still the same from what Humanitas funded it, or what is the mission now? Has
Of
it
Tri muhe?
changed? Yeah, of the story. Yeah.
Actually, Humanotera established it, so it was the mission of the Humanotera. The thing is that the basic mission is or the basic purpose of the store is the same. The store has 2 purposes, which is the first one is raising awareness about fair trade system, fair trade movement. The second one is actually offering Slovene market different type of products which are fair trade, produced within the fair trade system. So these are the 2 main purposes of the store. And the mission of the store was always to do these things, actually, to bring people into the store, to start to make them think about different things or where things come from. But the things that changed is that when the store was founded, it was named tri muhe. And tri muhe, with killing the 3 flies, it meant you buy a good thing, you do a good deed, and you are in a good mood.
Yeah.
This is actually very charitable, which means that people who come in say, okay, I will buy a chocolate so that I help some poor children in Africa. This is the communication that we are not doing anymore. I changed it completely because fair trade in its sense, it's not a charitable organization or the movement, not the movement or the system. It's a developmental system. So it means that if we buy something that was made within the fair trade system, meant that everybody was paid fairly, which means that they have a life that is dignified.
Yeah.
Because if they earn enough, they can take care of themselves. They don't need any charity.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is sustainable then. It's not in the charity sense that I buy chocolate so that that somebody gets some money for doing nothing. They get money because they did something. They made a product.
They're getting fairly paid.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're doing the work anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now they're fairly paid.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this is actually the basic human right.
Exactly.
Is the right to work.
Yeah.
And fair trade is just doing that. They are.
It's just doing things correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
What is interested of me also, how does the store get the products? What is the system, or also how often you, how would I say, if you go to the supermarkets, yeah, import, and also how much do you change the products on the shelf?
On the shelf.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, thankfully, we have quite a lot of stock, so the stock doesn't change so often anymore. But in the past, we changed it a lot. And in the past years, when the store was opened, they mainly sold very expensive items, like sculptures, vases, and stuff like this. But the store was formed in 2004, so to 2008 in Slovenia we had a lot of money and it was really easy to buy these type of things. Yeah. Exactly.
And
so
also
people were.
The mindset was still then more humanitarian of the people that came, or not?
I don't know because I wasn't present at the moment, but what I know from the past is that they were selling things and they had a lot more politicians, a lot more older people that were coming to the store. So it was kind of a posh thing to do, to go to the fair trade store and buy something there, a little bit of charity, a little bit of everything. Of course, in 2008, when the economic crisis started, all this collapsed, totally collapsed.
Yeah, yeah.
And from 2012, when I came to the store, we were selling things that costed less than 20 euros.
Yeah.
So if we had an item that costed more than 20 euros, we had it in the store. Nobody would buy it. So actually, in 2012, we were selling totally different kind of things that they were selling in 2004 when the store was opened. But now we are slowly getting back. Not to 2004 situation, but now we can have items also that cost 50, 60 euros, 70 euros, and people still buy them.
Okay.
So we are slowly getting back to that. And what also changed is that in 2004 they were mainly selling the handcrafted things, but now we are mainly selling food.
Okay.
So cocoa, chocolate, coffee, tea, rice, sugar, things like that.
Okay, and you get it from where? I mean, where do you import it from?
Since we are the only fair trade store in Slovenia, means that we have to cooperate with other fair trade organizations from other countries. So our main partner is in Austria, EZA, or as we call it in Slovene, EZA. They are actually the ones who are supplying all the Austrian fair trade stores. There are 91.
Yeah, I saw
a lot. And they are also supplying the whole Balkans, mainly Slovenia, that means, and also the Eastern Europe.
Oh, okay.
So they are, they're not a cooperative, but they are a supplier. They only do wholesales. They have, I think, 3 of their own stores. Otherwise, they're cooperating with Laden initiative or system within Austria. So they have, but they are the main suppliers. They have imports 2 times a year. They get a lot of products to the store, to the storage, and then they supply everyone. So for us, this is okay because the prices are reasonable. If we would be importing by ourselves, We can never import the quantities.
Yeah.
There's a problem of product control, product quality control, and also with the food, this is very complicated.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Can I just ask a question? How, if I may, how do you control the flow of the money to get it to
the producers?
Yes.
The producers within the fair trade system get paid in advance, which means that when ESA buys something from them, they pay them in advance. Yeah, so it's not, this is the fair trade system way. But also they are, even though ESA is mainly buying from the fair trade certified producers, they also control them as well. So there's double checking. They divide the second controlling with the EFTA, European Fair Trade Association. The first one is done by Vsak, who is actually giving them the certification, and WFTO, which is WFTO is for the producers. It's certifying producers. Vsak is certifying products. This is two different certifications, and usually one has one or the other. Usually not both. And the ESA is cooperating with 60 producers, around 60 producers from all around the world, and yeah, 30 of them they are controlling also, and the 30 are EFTA is controlling. So there's double checking. So I know that everything that comes from ESA is okay, and they are also, as a company, they are also organized in that manner. So for me, this is very important. That's why I make the difference, or I differ between the fair trade products that can be bought in our store and the fair trade products that can be bought in the supermarkets. There's a difference. Even though the certification is the same.
Yeah, okay. What kind of local products, Slovenian products or something,
Do we have?
Do you have, yeah?
Okay. The thing is that our mission is firstly that we sell fair trade products. Fair trade products are all the products that come from the global south, which means that for us they are luxury. We don't need them to survive, which means that they should not be cheap, or they don't need to be cheap. This is the first thing, that they have to be of high quality, but they don't need to be cheap. So whenever somebody comes to me and says, you are too expensive, it's, no, we're not, we are a luxury store actually. You can't say that we are too expensive. You don't need any of these to survive.
Exactly. You don't need coffee to survive, you don't need chocolate to survive. Yeah.
Neither sugar nor nothing. Nothing that is sold in the store you don't need to survive. But on the other hand, we are very happy that there are certain producers in Slovenia that started using fair trade materials to do their own products. So right now we are actually also selling some underwear, T-shirts and so that are made in Slovenia. We also are cooperating with one of the Slovene fashion designers who's making everything from the certified materials and so on. And we have the Smith-to-Made products, but this is because they are doing the same as the producers in the developed world are doing. Because within the fair trade system they are only supposed to use the materials that they can get locally, or the materials that can be that are recycled. They are not supposed to, I don't know, import materials to Africa from, I don't know, Asia, and then make the products. This is not a fair trade product.
And that's how they do it, something like that.
Yeah, and Smith-to-Made does everything from the waste. So we are actually showing through a Slovene example how it can be also done here. This is more for awareness for this part, because for us it's not just important where the product itself comes from, but it's also important that it doesn't damage the environment here. Because if we are demanding that from the producers, because one of the principles of fair trade is also that they are not supposed to hurt the environment or damage the environment, we are not supposed to damage the environment either. So ESA is very strict also here. Everything that is packaged, they are working towards having the packaging that is the most sustainable at that point. So they are developing it all the time. Like for example, the coffee that is packaged, it's not packaged in the same packaging that we get here, because most of these packagings have 3 layers: paper, aluminium and plastic. But when they are put together, this is basically unrecyclable. You can recycle it, but the process is so expensive that you don't do it. So they have the plastic, the paper, and the outer plastic, but when you open the coffee, you can separate all of them.
Okay,
So you can recycle them
Each
separately,
yeah.
which means that the packaging is recyclable.
Yeah, okay.
But it has to be packaged because of the laws and everything. So.
Yeah,
And
otherwise
also,
it's not full.
yeah, and also coffee is very,
Smelly.
no, it's not smelly. Coffee is smelly, but
Yeah.
in a good sense.
Yeah.
But they take in a lot of
They
absorb. Yeah, it's very absorbent. They absorb all the smells from the environment. That's why they say put coffee into the refrigerator when it smells, and the coffee will absorb it, or into a
That's why when
space
we were
where you're
young,
smoking and so on.
Yeah, we put something else in coffee so police didn't know on the train.
Actually, and that was actually also the way how they used to smuggle everything in large quantities. Even the dogs don't smell it, not just the police.
That's what we do.
That's why it has to be packaged properly. Also chocolate and all this stuff. Yeah, Slovenia has really strict laws.
Yeah, but it also does it come directly. I mean, it comes directly from Austria to you, probably, right? Twice a year.
Yeah. No. We order every 2 weeks.
Okay, they have it twice.
They
a year.
have it twice a year.
So okay, they have big storages.
Yeah.
You probably have this issue constantly with the question, why buying fair? I know we came here, I mean, this is the third co-working space, and we dumb it down for some people that public office, you know.
Mm-hmm.
How do you cope with this probably still with some on daily basis, or is it already advanced?
No. We are still answering the basic questions.
So it's repetition. Okay.
It's repetition. Every time a journalist comes, it's, can you please tell us about the 10 principles of fair trade? Yeah, this is like the normal question.
The WTO ones,
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's not a problem. The problem is that even people come with the same excuses. This is for me much harder to cope with. Exactly. I sometimes just turn around and go away, and then somebody else takes over because I can't anymore. Because this one is funny. In the lectures about cocoa, we call it the single mother syndrome. We always have some woman, usually, who is not a single mother, and usually not very poor, who raises a hand and says, but the single mother can't afford fair trade chocolate. And then I say, okay, they don't need to afford it because it's a luxury item. And if they buy chocolate anyway, means that they decided to put 2-3 euros for chocolate every month. And then you can always decide to buy fair trade chocolate. Yeah, you get less, but you get very higher quality. Or you buy the generic one, which means that it's always your decision, and it's not an excuse. But the thing is,
this applies to all of it. It applies to clothes as well, you know.
Exactly.
Because we want ourselves, we want a good wage, but we want very cheap clothes.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly, or everything else. So it's actually this is something. These questions come up all the time still. Or the very popular one in the store is also, but how can you call yourself a fair trade store when everything is so expensive? It should be cheap. And to whom is that fair? Just to you.
Yeah, exactly, to the buyer.
Yeah, to the buyer, exactly. But the buyers now are used to getting everything with a discount, for free, or 2 for 1, or whatever, that they expect, of course, all that in fair trade, and they think that this is fair.
Yeah, for them. Yeah.
For them, exactly.
Yeah, but if they would see the people working, I mean, I was in Bangladesh, I saw the nice productions, but you also see by the road the realistic production. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's your t-shirt for €8, but people work in such horrible conditions. I mean.
But at least they're emancipated.
Yeah, sure they are. Yeah.
No, that was a lecture not long time ago, a month or so, and it was said that in India, at least, and in Bangladesh, with the conditions that they're working in, they're very bad, but at least women got emancipated.
I did not see that.
Of course not, and it's not an emancipation if you have to work all day and you never see your children and you don't get paid enough to have a decent life.
They have acid problems.
Exactly.
That's not emancipation.
Exactly.
But that's another issue.
It's another issue, but these things come up, and when for us it's like when we are explaining things a few years and we raise a lot of awareness and we start making the people think, which means that they start thinking about changing habits sometime in the future. And then somebody like this comes and says something like this, with just one sentence, they put us back for a few years, because the hardest thing is actually changing your own habits.
Yeah, yeah.
And when somebody then comes and gives you another excuse, of course, whom you will believe? The one that is expecting you to change something, or the one that is telling you, it's okay, it's fine, you don't have to do anything. Just go on as you're doing.
Yeah, just leave us.
Yeah.
We talked about already this, how to say, direct impacts of fair trade. What are some of the secondary or spillover effects that happen in this, with fair trade?
What I see is that sometimes it's much easier to explain the things that are also happening now in Slovenia through fair trade, because when we are explaining that people are enslaved, that people work in very poor conditions, that they don't get paid enough, that they should stand up for themselves, that maybe the laws that are in these countries are not according to the international standards, and they should be, and so on, and they should maybe talk to the government or do something, and the buyers and so on. And then we, at one point, we start not talking about the problems in the less developed world, and we start explaining the situation here, and start making the comparison to what's going on here. And people then see, aha, this is how it is. But if we would come and say, in Slovenia things are like this, people would say no. So I think sometimes it's much easier to explain something through fair trade. And also what is also happening is that, I'm not very happy with that, but maybe it's a good sign as well. A lot of producers in Slovenia come and they say, we are also doing things according to fair trade principles. We are also fair trade. Okay, firstly, you can't be fair trade because you're in Slovenia, you're in a developed country, which means that there are laws and stuff like this, so you have some protection of all this. But they are using this fair trade very loosely. But it doesn't matter. In a way, it's also good because they are aware that this is important. That's important, that people are paid fairly and so on. But usually when they're talking about fair trade, it's not about people being paid fairly, it's about all other stuff. That they're friendly to the environment, that the conditions for work are okay and so on. But with the salaries, let's not talk about that.
No, let's just say if we would
have more money,
have higher salaries, then we would not be able to do that.
Or
we
something.
would have only, but that's standard, And the environment, okay, I might be from a pessimistic point of view, I'm not a pessimist, but the environment is also a buzzword, for companies. But
and also local and everything is,
everything is a buzzword right now. Okay, we talked slightly about this, but how still, let's say, if we would have an idea of not even opening a shop here, but selling a product, let's say coffee here, how would we come to people so they understand that they are also, supporting goals, or actually supporting mind shifts, and some values which they are, I would say, putting down when they go and buy
another coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this is actually a very simple question. The thing is that people will always buy the thing that they like better. Meaning the taste or the experience or whatever. They will never buy something because it's ethical. Or the percentage of people who buy things that because they are ethical, it's very, very, very small. And you can never be dependent just on them.
Like you cannot be dependent just saying, I'm a social enterprise.
Exactly.
It's not enough. You have to be better than a normal enterprise.
Exactly. So first is the quality. If the quality is okay, then you start selling the quality. And you say, this coffee is better because it's 100% Arabica, it's fresher, it's a single origin, the tastes are different, and so on. So we are always coming from this perspective. And everything else is because we want to do it. Not because we want people to buy it because it's fair trade. Never. Especially within Buna. Within Buna, everything is, it's first, the thing is quality, then everything else.
Yeah.
And even in Tri Muhe we see people come in because they like the store, they like the products, they like how they are presented, or they like the experience when they come to Tri Muhe because it's much more loose and people talk to you and they can come talk and so on.
And
so,
not on express.
Yeah, exactly, and we are not pushing them to buy things and so on. So it's a different, everything else is I think more important for people than the fact that it's fair trade.
Yeah.
Because it's fair trade, people come and say, okay, I will buy this small chocolate for the €1 to support the poor African kid. And at that point I would, for me, if I'm holding my mouth like this, and otherwise I would say, you don't buy this because you are trying to be charitable.
Yeah.
Don't try to wash your conscience with €1 chocolate. You can't do it, sorry.
Not enough.
And we are not supporting that.
Okay. Now a more personal question. You were before in the how is it? You worked in companies,
in companies,
corporations. Yeah. How did you come to Zadruga Buna? How did this came about?
First.
To Tri Muhe first. Yeah.
Okay. I changed quite a lot of jobs before, but not because I wanted, but because it was the situation was like this, which meant I learned a lot. And for me it was a really good experience. And then at one point, my last employment was, I was a director of a company with 30 employees. And of course, a bigger company that was the owner of this smaller company decided to close it. So I was actually without a job. And then one of my previous business partners, not from the last job, but from the previous one, came and said, okay, if you start freelancing, then maybe we can do a project together. And I said, okay, I will open SP.
Yeah.
And of course we didn't do a project together for another year, but it doesn't matter because in the meantime I started doing things that I knew how to do.
Yeah.
And we actually put together a product to sell. It was a service, it was a complete marketing service, so to come into a small firm who can't afford to buy pay the person in charge for the marketing to have us as a team who do these things for them. So I was doing that for a year, but I wasn't really very happy with that, and I started looking around what are the possibilities, and I saw an advertisement that Tri Muhe are looking for a manager of the store. And I said, okay, I have a lot of experience in that field. Why not? Let's apply for this. It can be and they were looking for someone half-time.
Okay.
So I was never looking for something full-time because I knew that some things that I were doing are fine, but I would like to do something else next to that. So I went for an interview and for a second interview, and they chose me, and then I started managing Tri Muhe, and for the first year I was actually the manager of the store.
Okay.
Yeah, which didn't turn out so well for me, because I was fed up with that very, very quickly, because I'm not the kind of person to be stuck somewhere in the same place all the time. But I loved what Tri Muhe is about and what we can do and the possibilities and all that. And I met Tine as well and René, and we started the lectures and all this. So at that point it was for me a decision what to do. And it was very easy because I had an assistant, Katarina, who is still working with me in Tri Muhe, and she's actually the operational manager of Tri Muhe right now. So she's doing all the administrative work or the organization of the volunteers and all this stuff that is actually everyday work. And it has to be done, and since the store is growing, it's more and more of this work. But for me, I don't want to do this work. I know how to do it, but I really don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And she really wants to do it because she's really good at it,
That's
and she has the stable work environment. She has a stable job. I don't control her a lot. For me, it's important that things are done, and for her, it's very easy because we put the process together. I mean, we sit down and we say, okay, this is done, this and this in this way, and then when she knows how to do this, then she does it totally independently.
Yeah.
I'm not controlling when she comes to work, when she goes from work. For me, it's the same if she works in the afternoon or in the mornings. It doesn't matter as long as the work is done, exactly. So, because I had her as an assistant for this year, the first year, she was a volunteer. So, but she was very involved.
Okay.
So she was very enthusiastic about it, and they said, okay, would you like to do it? And she said yes. And actually we started working together. So she started taking over the operational part, and I started taking over about the strategic and the communicational part. And then, yeah, slowly I almost closed the SP. I stopped doing those projects and started doing new ones. And more I started doing the social business, actually.
Okay. Also one question, how many employees/volunteers do you have in the store?
The store now employs Katarina, and it will soon employ me as well, half-time, which is 1.5 employees, which is also a very big step, because Katarina is employed from March.
Okay.
Before she was working as a freelancer as well, and part-time only. And we have 15 active volunteers actually all the time.
Okay.
They are changing all the time, but there are 15 active volunteers always in the store or somewhere around. So we don't have problems with getting volunteers.
Yeah.
I have to say thank you to someone, I don't know whom, but yes, people really like to come work in Muhe. They get some work experience, but they also get to be in communication with people and so on. So people come for various reasons. It's never the same for two volunteers, but yeah, we don't have problems with getting.
What's the age structure?
When I started in Muhe, the volunteers were mostly older and younger, but now mostly they are women who lost their jobs or don't get employment, and they are doing this to keep in touch with the world.
Okay. Because it's interesting. I heard about an example. I think David Berry explained it some months ago when I was listening to him. They in a quarter in, I think, I don't know if it's London, but in an English town they had no small shops, mom and pop shops, and then also like some people came together, place like this, made a bodega or however you call it, and they also actually made it work with volunteers, because they wanted the shop to be in their quarters. They didn't want to drive always to a big Walmart, and they also made it with volunteers. I don't know if they made some hours, if they worked, let's say, 10 hours per week, they had a discount in the store.
Yeah, Muhe has volunteers. Firstly, it had them because this is the way fair trade works.
Okay.
In Europe mostly, in the whole fair trade system includes more than 100,000 volunteers, a lot of them. And in Germany, in Austria, and also in Italy, the smaller fair trade shops are usually run by volunteers.
Okay.
And they are only open like on Sundays or so on, because fair trade works closely with the church. They have a lot of spaces within the church and so on, and they have the stores open after the mass and before the mass and so on. And those little stores are all based on volunteers.
Okay.
In Slovenia it's totally different because we don't have any support from the church. But it doesn't matter. The thing is that when the store was opened, they also started working with volunteers, and this is what I'm keeping on as well. But in the future I would like to have the professional staff who is always present, and the volunteers next to the professional staff for the awareness raising, not for the basic operation of the store. But in the last years, from 2008 till 2012, or even till last year, if we didn't have volunteers, the store would be closed.
Okay.
We really needed volunteers to actually survive.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Otherwise, for me, this is, okay, it's good if the community comes together and they do it because of the community and all this stuff, this is good. But in our case, I don't think that voluntary work should be the basis as it is now or as it was in the past years and in the future, because this is not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
Volunteer
You
should
cannot
be
put it on the
exactly.
next level. Yeah,
Exactly.
you have to professionalize somehow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You already mentioned the educational process you are now building up, or you're already working on other. How did that come about?
Yes, the idea started around 2.5 years ago. I'm very practical. I come from the business background and I don't like theories. I don't like people talking about theories and so on. I want people to be very hands-on. So if you don't know how to do it, don't talk about it. This is how I operate. And on the other hand, I'm seeing a very common pattern, which is, on one hand, we have people who are very aware, who know a lot about things, and they are very afraid or they don't know how to do business on the other hand. Like NGOs or social businesses and everybody. In this part, everybody is like, when you mention profit, everybody's this is a very ugly word, nobody should use it because like in Harry Potter.
We just want to do good things, we don't care about the money.
Exactly, we don't care about the money, that's why that makes us good.
Yeah.
Like in Harry Potter, what is the name of this is the word that should not be said.
Oh, okay.
And on the other hand, we have people who know very much a lot about business, but they don't know anything about this. And then they say, okay, we are a social business because we separate the waste, or I don't know, very simple things. Or they change something in the process and they say we are socially responsible. And I get spots. And then we have a lot of co-working spaces, a lot of programs, a lot of these things that are making social business, but they are always only about teaching these people how to do business, and never how to do these other things. And I said, okay, why don't we put both of these things together? Because I know that it works for me. Because of the lectures, because of all the research that we have done, because of everything that we know, we can do our business in a different way. And we can do it deeply into that. I mean, we can go to the last thing in the process. We don't just change one thing. Like, you can make chocolate from fair trade cocoa, but you use the normal sugar. Or you don't pay your workers or whatever, but you can have the fair trade mark because you have a fair trade cocoa inside. For me, this is not social business, sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I said, okay, let's do an educational model that teaches people these things, the global learning themes, the ethical way to the supply chain, all these things, and on the other hand, also about business. And when they will put both of these things together, they will be able to get a job either in an organization that wants to do social, that wants to be more socially responsible, or in an NGO who needs more business stuff. But they will be able to understand both of them, because if you only come from this side to this side, you don't get what they are talking about, and you are in constant chaos actually. And for the other way,
constant clashes of cultures anyway.
Of cultures, of the ideas. You can't talk to each other, exactly. And also, if they start their own business, they will go to the beginning, and they will go through the whole process. And they will also know that if they start a business, it's not about being totally ethical from head to toe from the beginning. It is also a thing that you can come to in steps, but at least the goal will be clear. Because I was talking to one girl, she's a psychologist, a very good one. She's working with children who were abused, with children who were abused, and she did this toy. She produced it, which helps the children to open up, to start talking about their problems and so on to her. And then I said, okay, but this toy is made out of cotton. And I said, okay, but is this cotton fair trade, or at least certified in some way? And she said, no. And I said, but don't you think that would be a good idea? She said, you know, I didn't even think about it. Because on one hand, you are making these toys from the, it wasn't her fault. That's because she couldn't know, I mean.
It's not the way of thinking, yeah.
Exactly. And in one way, you're helping these children here who were abused with the toy, who is made out of materials that was made by other children who were abused.
Yeah.
So it can't be a good thing.
Yeah.
And she was, wow, thank you for telling me this, for opening my eyes. And this I would like to achieve, that people would think about things. So if they get both of the knowledges, then they can actually think about things.
That they think about the whole process, or the whole picture, because we have colleagues from another region that have a great product. If you look at it, you know, it's also for kids, you know. But yeah, awesome. It's sustainable. Is it really, you know? And then we started talking. Where's the cotton from? Where's this from? Okay, we did not think about that, you know. But the chair itself is, it's great. But let's, you know, think of it as a whole, you know. And then you come. It also from a selling point. If you sell it as a sustainable product. I mean, if it's not wholly sustainable, it's not.
Exactly.
It cannot be yes or no. It's not in between.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's in between. It's for me acceptable if it's in the process. That you say, right now this material is inside because we need it, but we can't get it in a sustainable fashion. We are working on it. Yeah. Like Fairphone, for example. Yeah. It's a really good example. Fairphone, it's not totally okay. Yeah. It's I think 99 or something.
But they're working on it.
But they're working on it, exactly.
Exactly.
And this is what we should be doing as well. But you can't do that if you don't know where to start.
Yeah. But 99% in a phone is awesome, actually. I mean, it's a big percentage.
Of course. Of course, I agree.
But they want to make it better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the point. And that's the point of this education, of this model, to actually bring all this together. And to start, but we are now doing actually a pilot project. It's only 10 weeks. It's with 9 people who are very highly motivated. I'm so happy that they applied. And I didn't expect that, because usually in this kind of projects you get people who are, okay, we want to do something but we don't know really what and so on, but here people are really, really highly motivated. And what we also decided is to do, to go through the educational model with the same goal. So at the end of the model, we will have some research done, some business plans done, but they will be for the same goal. So if this will be actually the starting point for the next step or for whatever. It's not that they are doing each of their own business ideas and each of their own, I don't know, research and canvases and all this stuff. And what we also manage in between is that I had a lecture last week at the faculty in Primorskaya with the psychologist, and they will do a research for us, actually, how people are perceiving what is ethical and how this affects their shopping habits.
How it spills over. Actually,
So I don't want them to research what is ethical, because this I don't even want to know, because ethical philosophers did that and we can do it and so on, and everybody has their own idea of ethical, and it would be another philosophical paper which we don't need. But they will be doing how people are perceiving it and how it affects the shopping habits, and this will be probably also one of the good things that comes out from all these projects that we are doing, or for what we will be doing next.
So do you already see with this incubi, so say year 2 or an upgraded version?
Yes, actually yes, because we have applied this project to 2 bigger
open funds.
Thank you. My English today is not very good. Okay, yeah, to get some funds for this, but unfortunately we didn't get them, but we will be applying on. So yeah, the idea at the end is actually to make it a sustainable educational model who goes on every year. So every year new people can apply, and every year a new business model is done about something else. But all this in the sense of at the end, or not even in the end, somewhere in the middle, to putting up a department store with only ethical things, ethical product services within, and also playground or a ground for new products to be tested, for the education to be able to go on, and also a supportive environment for new businesses that want to develop in this manner.
Okay, so also let's say the old businesses that from 3 years ago can become the mentors.
The mentor,
So
exactly.
Or
even businesses that are already established and that they want to change something, that they can come for some information or support in how to do things more sustainable, more ethical, and so on.
Efficient,
more efficient or so. It depends on what. So yeah, we are planning if this actually, or not if. When this happens, it will need a lot of people and a lot of support from a lot of people. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm just slightly involved in a similar project, and when it starts rolling, it's a lot of work, a lot of people that need to be.
Yeah, but here, thankfully, we have a lot of support already. We have presented the idea to, I think, 20 organizations already. Within the last application that we did was 6 Slovene organizations involved and 4 foreign organizations. So yeah, the thing is actually already on the roll, and it's not stopping. We just don't know when it will happen or when it will go on. And I wouldn't be doing the pilot project if I wouldn't believe in the idea.
Exactly, yeah.
Because this pilot project has a little funds, but not to cover the costs actually.
All pilot things have to have a drive, like all other projects, yeah.
Exactly.
I would open the floor. Any questions? Any ideas? Then I would thank Živa for the talk. Thank you very much.
And thank you for the invitation.